Hey, how you guys doing? Welcome back to another episode of Soldiers Talk the Podcast. I'm your host, Staff Sergeant McPherson, and on this show we discuss military topics with current and prior service members. Today I have a special guest. I have Specialist Keyonna Prioleau. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, Sergeant. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I had you on the show before, and I know you was talking about how you was from Memphis and stuff like that. Uh, can you kind of get into it and kind of explain to the people the life before joining the army and stuff, kind of like growing up in Memphis and stuff like that.
Okay, so once again, my name is Keyonna, and I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm not born in Memphis, but I was born in Columbia, South Carolina, where my daddy's side of the family is from Charleston. But I was raised in Memphis from 2 years old and above. So I always tell people Memphis is a very urban environment, very cultured. So a lot of my experiences did come from Memphis until I left for college in 2015. But before that time frame, I went to a predominantly black high school, predominantly black middle and elementary school. So we grew up really fast in Memphis. Like we were going, to the skating ring on the weekend, going to the movies, just outside, just doing being little kids, but also experiencing and learning a lot at a young age. I have a military background as far as family because my mom is a retired Sergeant First Class and she's also a JROTC teacher. Currently, she's been teaching that for 20 something years. She's going to get mad at me because I don't know the exact time frame, but she was the one that always used to place that like, hey, you need to go to the military. Like I did it, I loved it. The military introduced me to so much. It has created the life that I live. And my dad also served too, and that's how they met. But both of them always said, hey, you need to at least try out the military. So I was always against it, y'all. Like I grew up and I wanted to be a pretty girl. I didn't really like the bun that you were forced to wear. I didn't like that you had to wear a uniform all the time and had just a standard that you had to dress or just be accustomed to all the time. So for me, I always looked at myself as being a free spirit, a little bit rebellious. So I never saw myself being in the military. But after college or going through college, I end up, well, my mama sent a recruiter my way. I did not plan that. She made sure that they found me. And that was 2018 when I first started my first ever recruitment process. And it wasn't until 2019 that I had just graduated from college. And I was like, you know what? I got nervous entering the workforce, and I was like, I'm gonna give the army or the military a chance. So I started the process, and I ended up leaving for the military in 2020. But my decision to join was really that I
Okay,
wanted.
so how not to cut you off and nothing
Yeah.
like that, but so before you joined the military, the army, like what led you to that decision to where like, okay, this is the choice I want to do.
I think, like I said, it's always been a part of me because my mama was in the military all of my life. So I've always known her to wear the uniform. I just never saw myself doing it. And it wasn't until after I was graduating from college that I started to look into it more. And I was like, okay, I think I could do it as a stepping stone. I felt more mature by that time. I was what? 23 when I was starting the military process, a recruitment process. And so I felt like I had a different outlook than I probably would have had joining the military in high school. So honestly, it was really, I was nervous to enter the workforce. And I was like, well, I'm gonna try out the military, see what that's about. I'm gonna use it to my advantage, and see really go to school. That was the biggest thing. But I was like, in general, people speak so highly of the benefits and the stability, and I felt like that's what I would rather do right out of college versus just entering the workforce.
Okay, so uh we're gonna kind of get into so what when you went to go see the recruiter, like what was the process on you picking the MOS you wanted to choose?
Okay. So I always go through such unique things. So I had like a back and forth type of recruitment process. So originally, y'all, I was not even going to do 6-8 X-ray, even though that's what I wanted the whole time. Because my entire process was me, what I felt was to do a MOS that required as less of my attention outside of work as possible. So I was telling my recruiter, I wanted to do 42 Alpha. I want to do 36 Bravo, which is a finance technician. I put on there a paralegal. It's a paralegal MOS. I had 25 Bravo. Like I had random stuff, even though I wanted 6-8 X-ray first, but they were pretty much knocking down that as an option from day one because they were like, oh, 6-8 X-ray is a unicorn MOS. You'll never get that one. And I have my bachelor's in psychology, so I definitely thought, okay, if I get that MOS, I'll be able to go in, network, talk to the people that's in my field, and I'll be able to switch kind of move myself up through the ladder as a 6-8 X-ray so I can eventually become a psychologist myself. But as the recruiters were telling me that it was a slim chance that I was going to get 6-8 X-ray, I started looking at other job options. And I was like, well, yeah, maybe then I won't have to focus so much on that side of it and trying to make it work out with my life and things like that. So, but it ended up when I was at MEPS and I had actually was about to sign with my liaison for 42 Alpha. And as soon as I was about to lock in the job, he was like, dang, the job left. It's not there anymore. So he was like, what job did you say you wanted originally? And I was like, I wanted 6-8 X-ray before anything. He was like, okay, let me call The Rock. It's a such thing as The Rock. I don't know if you heard of that, but it's like where you can call personally to headquarters or regional and they'll try to see the jobs first. And so basically he was like, yeah, she wanted 6-8 X-ray first. He was like, oh, what? You have 6-8 X-ray? He was like, they got 6-8 X-ray. You want it? You better grab it now. And I was like, yes, So that's how I ended up finally being a 6-8 X-ray, even though they kept saying that it wouldn't ever come up in the system.
Okay. So you was excited. You basically was excited about that. You was excited about having a 6-8. So that was something that you was interested in.
Yeah, because it's, you have to note that when you're coming in as a civilian, it's still a lot of you that's excited to be joining. So you have things that you're interested in doing, but if they tell you, oh, that's not an option or that's not an option, you start to be like, well, whatever. At the end of the day, my goal is to join. So if I can't get that, I was like, okay, well, I want these jobs. So I kind of at first was looking at it like, well, if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. Even though I truly did want 6-8 X-ray the whole time. So it was just God given that it end up getting it because I was this close to being a 42 Alpha. So I don't know what that would have meant for my path if I would have did that job.
Okay. So you pick 6-8 X-ray and they let you know what dates you're going to be shipping to basic training. So when did you leave for basic training?
So that's another funny part. So if I would have did 42 Alpha, I would have been like, I had a ship out date of 3 months away. To get 6-8 X-ray, I had a 2-week ship out date. And I had swore in on July 31st, 2020. I was going for basic training August 16th. And so I was like, oh my God, like I had a lot of pressure on me when I was leaving for basic training. And even going through AIT, I just felt like I was kind of, I had been feeling uneasy for a long time. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I know you're going to cut that part out, right?
No, you good.
Okay. Okay. Do you want me to wait?
No, keep going.
Okay. What was I talking about? 6-8 X-ray.
When you left for basic and stuff like that.
Okay, so I had so I swore in on July 31st, and I end up shipping out on August 16th. And what was your question? I'm sorry.
When did you leave for basic? That's basically what's the question.
Okay, yeah. So I ended up shipping out in 2 weeks, and it wasn't until I got in and had passed basic training that I found out people were getting ship out bonuses. I was like, "What? You supposed to have a ship out bonus?" I think it was like 10,000 or something like that, and nobody told me nothing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I left in 2 weeks just to have 6-8 X-ray as my MOS.
Okay, so basic training. We're gonna get into basic training a little bit. So, what was your experiences in basic training?
Whew. Okay, so I honestly, y'all, my personal self, um, the biggest problem I had with basic training was not the physical part, was not, getting accustomed to the military, because that stuff has always been second nature to me. Like I said, I have a military background. My mom act really military, so that part it didn't bother me at all. The drill sergeants wasn't bothered by that part at all. What I mostly struggled with was being in a setting with people that up and close and personal for that amount of time, because you're in the bunk beds in a bay with, I think we had 60 girls in our bay, and you have to remember, I came in at 23 and I was considered old to the young girls, because a lot of them were coming out of high school and they were 18, 19. So when they found out I was 23, they was like, dang, for real? And I'm like, yeah, I came in after school, so for me it took a lot for me to get used to just kind of like how it is, in any environment when it's a group of different people coming from different places. Everyone has a different mindset, a different way that they speak to other people. Then being, I say, with a group of women, we all syncing up and things like that. So we all having, our different type of attitudes, and you have people, they really are big on impressing the drill sergeant. They want to be in the limelight, they want to be seen. So they were the ones that probably will make it harder for other people, because they wanted to be in charge. And I was the type, I just wanted to be there, do what I got to do, and get out of there. But some people, I felt they make it hard to do that part, because you have to deal with the, just the attitude part. And I think that what made it more difficult for me during basic training. But the physical, I was good on the physical. Accomplishing what I needed to graduate, that wasn't hard. I just did not like being stuck in the bay with 60 girls.
Okay, so with that being said, so kind of describe your drill sergeant. So what type of drill sergeants did you have?
Oh, okay. So we had different type of drill sergeants, because I actually went during COVID. So the first 2 weeks they had us in a thing called yellow phase at the time. I don't know if that's still going on, but we were in yellow phase. So they had like our COVID drill sergeants. They were the ones that was just watching over us, getting us back and forth from testing, the ones watching over us in the bay to, water, making sure that nobody's breaking out in COVID symptoms and things like that. And during that time, the drill sergeants were being very chill for the most part, because we were learning a lot of book work. Like we were learning a lot about rifle marksmanship, things you're supposed to do in white phase, like drilling ceremony. We were doing a lot of that during that time, because we really couldn't do much that require us to touch each other or be close like that. But once we did get to the actual red phase and got our real drill sergeants, I think for the most part, my drill sergeants were, for the most part, chill, because I was in 3rd platoon, and for whatever reason, my platoon had all the older people. We had some old people in my platoon. And I just say old as in like older. Like we had some 30-year-olds. We had a 40-year-old in my platoon. So I think that our drill sergeants kind of realized that about our platoon. We had a little unique platoon. And so they kind of did keep us in check, doing front lead and rest position. We didn't have our stuff together. And I had one drill sergeant, but he wasn't my drill sergeant. He was a drill sergeant to another platoon. But this was during the yellow phase. And he had actually balled up one of my letters, because he didn't know that our female drill sergeants told us that we could write letters during reflection time on Sundays. I'm pretty sure you remember, like, Sunday was cleanup day. You could write letters. You could do like chill in the bay. And they told us we could write during that time. But apparently they told the males that time was for reflection, not for letters. And so when he saw in our bay one day that we had like, it's an entire story, but just long story short, he saw that I had a letter in my coffin one day that they were going through, and I forgot to lock it. And that's a big thing. Make sure you lock your coffin. And he went through it, and he thought I had just got done writing the letter, but I had wrote the letter during reflection time earlier that day, and he balled my letter up, like, in my face. And that really, like, that was probably my hardest part, because I couldn't believe he went to that extent, because I really didn't believe he had a reason to ball it up. And, in basic, you ready to get those letters out so your people can hurry up and get them, and you can hurry up and get a letter back, so you can feel like, feel comforted. So I was really upset that I had to write my letter all over again, and it delayed the process of my people hearing from me. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So, as far as the drill sergeants, okay. So, what can you explain? Like, do you got any like memorable, like most memorable moments in basic training where you was like, where like kind of like a culture shock, I guess, or something that stood out the most?
I guess, I'm not trying to go this way with it, but a culture shock for me, when I hear culture shock, was one day I had my natural hair out, um, and one of my drill sergeants, she was like, "Prioleau, what's going on with your hair?" She said, "Your hair out of control," and I was just kind of like, "What you mean my hair out of control? Like, this is my natural hair." And it just was kind of the wording for me, and I felt like that's when I first started to realize, like, okay, yeah, the military, I have a lot of adjusting to do, because it just kind of threw me off. And she said it in front of everybody. I'm like, well, my braids got old. I had to take them out, and I don't got nobody to do my hair, So that was one of the culture shocks for me. But another one, I probably had to think on it and come back to it.
Okay. So, AIT. So this is where you actually learn your job. So AIT. Can you explain like the basically the curriculum on the stuff you learned as far as your job?
So, 68 X-ray curriculum was a lot of what we consider psychopathology. So that's a lot of the diagnosing and the different disorders that people could have. Knowing what those qualifications are, the onset of those symptoms, and just the ability to conduct intakes, which we do a lot of at 68 X-rays. We're supposed to, which is you screen patients their first time ever seeing behavioral health. You ask them their childhood background. You ask them their presenting problem, like what brings you here today. You talk about just different yes or no questions, like do they drink? Do they are they on any other substances? Are they on any supplements? What are some other questions that we ask? We ask questions about their behavioral health background. We ask their relationship with their parents and their siblings. It's a lot. It's a long intake. It's an hour long. We learned that. We went into that in depth in AIT. You learn mental status examination. So that's your ability to look at a patient and kind of not dissect them, but you're able to kind of assess their the word is just being able to assess them in front of you as they're talking to you, so you can kind of get more information that they're probably not able to tell you, but you're able to judge, hey, is this person like, what's one of the things we ask, like, is this person aware of their issue, or is their judgment in line? Is there just overall ability to assess their situation in line? Like, we're supposed to be able to assess that as the behavioral health tech, especially being the one to staff with a actual licensed provider. So we really did dig into a lot of disorders in AIT.
Okay, so AIT was a lot less strict than basic, right?
Yes, it was less strict, but ours was still strict because we were still having COVID protocols. So we could not go off base. We still had to wear masks to formation. That was still part of our uniform. Um, we still marched to class. We did cadences every time. um, Still had mandatory PT every day. Only thing that was different is that you can have the privilege to wear civilians depending on what phase you're in. And on top of that, you can go to like not the commissary, but the PX on the weekend. You can go to the it's like the student the rec center, like the student union, kind of, not the student union. I can't even think of what it's called right now, but you can kind of go there and mingle with the other branches. Since I went to Fort Sam Houston, and I'm sorry, y'all, I'm having a lot of like mind blanks today. But yeah, so it was less strict, but we still had a lot of things that stopped us from doing things because of COVID. Yeah.
Okay, so when you so once you graduated AIT, uh how did you feel about what was your first duty station?
My first duty station was here at Fort Bragg, And when I had found out that I had Fort Bragg, you'll hear a lot of people have different understandings or insight about different duty stations. So when people found out I was going to Fort Bragg, the first thing they said was, "Oh, you better be scared. They about to make you go airborne. Their base is super hooah. That's like the center of the universe, Fort Bragg, because that's like where everybody gets stationed at some point in their career." So they said, "Yeah, they about to have you doing a lot of soldier stuff." So I was like, "Really?" And they were like, "Yeah." And then you're in Fayetteville. They used to say it was a lot of crime in Fayetteville, but I was like, I'm from Memphis. It ain't that much crime compared to Memphis. So I'm like, it ain't gonna be nothing that I'm not used to. So coming out here, it was an adjustment to Fayetteville, because I think for me, Fayetteville is a very small city. Fort Bragg is big, but I'm not really, like, I guess, engulfed in Fort Bragg as a whole, because I'm in a medical MOS, so we're kind of in our own bubble. So I don't really see it to, like, on a larger scale of Fort Bragg, like how other people might see it. But I was happy to be in North Carolina. I mean, like I said, my daddy's side is from Charleston, South Carolina. He's in Columbia, South Carolina. So that's 2 hours and 30 minutes away. So I was close to him. We're close to Charlotte, Raleigh. Atlanta's not too far away. DC, Virginia. So I felt like we were, centrally located to a lot of places. And so I still like that about Fort Bragg.
Okay, we can kind of get into when you got to Fort Bragg. So when you left for Fort Bragg, like, did you have a sponsorship, anything? Like, did somebody from the unit you was going to, did they reach out to you and stuff like that?
Yes, so I'm actually a sponsor right now too, and I had to do the exact same thing. So yeah, I had a sponsor coming here, and their job is to reach out to you probably a couple of months before it's time for you to report here. And what their job is they'll tell you, "Hey, you'll be working with us. This is an idea of your schedule when you get here. This is what we do. This is what you can expect. I'll be the one to pick you up from the airport." And that's what they did. And when I got here, they are the one that took me to the reception barracks. They're the ones that helped me to get into the barracks, and they're the ones that's supposed to help you to pick up what you need for the room, take you to the grocery store, show you around, things like that. They're really supposed to help you get acclimated to the community and your environment. But I ended up switching sponsors halfway through my in processing period. Yeah, it's actually a long story.
Why you end up switching sponsors?
So the funny part is, when I was coming to Fort Bragg, I was supposed to go to the inpatient ward, because 6-8 X-rays, we actually have 3 different ways you could be a 6-8 X-ray. You can be a 6-8 X-ray that's outpatient, like myself. We work in a clinic, or you can work in the hospital as outpatient. Where patients go home after their appointment. Or you can work in inpatient, where those are the soldiers that are spending the night, because they probably need medications. Those are the ones that's probably at high risk, with suicide and things like that. And then you have the soldiers that work in like line units that are 6-8 X-rays. So they have nothing to do with the hospital. Their entire mission is being in a field hospital, or doing things that help that support their line unit. So I was originally supposed to go to the inpatient ward, and that's who my sponsor was, someone from the inpatient ward. So when I got here, they took me to where I was working at, and that's what I had an idea of where I was going to be while I was in processing onto base. So when I end up in processing into the unit, because you have to do both. You have to in process on base, and then someone from your unit to come get you so you can in process into your unit. So when I was doing that portion, they were like, "Oh, sorry, Prioleau, we need people in outpatient, so you're not going to inpatient, you're coming to outpatient." So they switched another sponsor to me, because we don't work with the inpatient ward at all. Like, we don't really communicate with them. Yeah, we send our soldiers to the inpatient ward, but we don't work with like, they can't come and work at our clinic, and we just can't. I mean, we can, but they really can't do it with us, but we can kind of go help them. But it's like weird. It's a lot. So yeah, I switched sponsors.
Okay. So what's your sponsorship and stuff like that, once you got to Fort Bragg, what was it like? Like, kind of explain, like, your first impression of Fort Bragg.
I was thinking about this the other day actually when I was driving, because if when you first see an environment, you like, oh, I'm not gonna ever get used to this, and I'm like, I'm used to it now. But when I first seen it, I was like, this is really country out here. Like, people think because I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, that we're super country, down south and things like that. But Memphis is the city. Like, we have buildings. Like, we're not in like a country environment with trailers and stuff like that. Like, we have houses and buildings around us. So for me, I feel like Fayetteville, Fort Bragg is more country. It's more country than what I'm used to. And when I just say country, I just mean a lot of open space, like a lot of open fields, and it's not buildings on every corner. Like, we have a lot of back streets where it's like just trees and stuff. So I personally don't like that, because I think I'm a city girl. And when I say city girl, I mean like I like being in a city where it's like a building around the corner, or some restaurants, a shopping center around the corner. Like, I don't have to drive 20 minutes out just to get into where everything is. But as far as Fort Bragg and the soldiers, when I first got here, I think I was just kind of like doing a lot more observing as far as like the soldiers, because the soldiers I work with are in a hospital. So a lot of the people or the soldiers that I see are nurses. They're X-ray techs. They're surgical techs. They work physical therapy. So I think that, like, my environment, we are forced to be extremely mature because of what we do. Because it's a medical field, it's healthcare. So it's a lot that we have to abide by, and we can't like just be, I guess, loose like that. So when you see a lot of the soldiers that I work with, we're kind of like not uptight, but we have somewhere to be at all times. So I was kind of like, oh, okay, I don't know what to expect. They say that we're still going to do soldier stuff, but it seems like we're going to be doing a lot of, healthcare type of work, like, based inside of the clinics. And that's our primary mission, not really doing a lot of soldier stuff like that, if that makes sense.
Okay, so y'all don't do a lot of soldier stuff at y'all in your unit?
See, they have to, because, they still have different, what's it called, met TLs. They have to make sure we are getting done just in case we do deploy. So we still have to do AWT. We still have to keep up to date on our ACFT, height and weight. We still have to do like sergeant's time training, where we do go over like rifle marksmanship, where we go over land nav, where we go over different TC3 and things like that. But it's really just kind of more so with us a check the box thing, because we don't go to the field, because we don't have time to go to the field. Like, our mission is 24 hours for the most part, except I'm in a clinic, so we do close. But a lot of people that work in a hospital, they're on 12-hour shifts. They're working all the time, rotating out. So we really can't do things like that, because we're supposed to be at the clinic or at the hospital, because it's a every all day mission for us.
Okay, so just like I was saying, so kind of get into what's your unit like. What's explain kind of like the day in the life of Sister AS Ray. Just like a day in the life, you reporting to the unit and stuff like that.
Okay. So what I do, and our routine changes depending on leadership. So at first, what it was is not what it is now. So now what it is I wake up every day at 6:30, because I have to be at my clinic at 7:30 since I'm the NCOIC. And at first, we used to do PT in the morning. We did PT 3 days a week, but now we do PT every day, but we do it in the afternoon. So on a regular day, I'm going to say Tuesday, because that's where we kind of have a unique routine. So on Tuesdays, I wake up at 6:30. I have to be at work at 7:30. So between that time, I'm just kind of doing things at the clinic, making sure we're functioning and the clinic is taken care of as an NCOIC. And if I were to do more tech work, that's where you'll be doing your intakes, doing your walk-ins. And in my unit, we do a lot of covering down on the front desk. So we have to make, like, if our receptionist calls out, we have to sit at the front desk, answer the phone, schedule patients, and do what that entails. And, I'll do that until it's time for me to go on lunch, because I go to lunch about 11:30, 12, because on Tuesdays we have sergeant's time training, and that's from 1300 until the end of the day. But if it was not Tuesday where we do sergeant's time training, then it's just I'm at work all day. We're supposed to be doing intakes, walk-ins, or me as an NCRC, making sure the clinic is in compliance. And yeah, get off work now at 1500 so I can go to PT, and we have to be at PT by 1530, and we're done with PT at 1630. So we just have a regular 9 to 5, and you just do whatever you need to do that day at work. So that's pretty much a normal day, except Tuesdays when we have sergeant's time training.
Okay. So so far as your supervisors and stuff like that. So explain your supervisors, like do they like explain your experience, like I'm trying to see how I want to say it. Kind of like, what's your supervisor like? What's your first line leadership like?
Okay. So, and this is where, we say in the military, you can never know what you're going to get or what to expect because everybody's setup is different. And then my setup is we have so many behavioral health clinics that I don't work with my first lines. They work in an entirely different clinic because they have to work at the bigger clinics, whereas they need us dispersed out. So all of us are separated. In fact, I'm the only soldier at my clinic. I work with other soldiers that's in another unit, but they're not even in my unit. But I work with their population of soldiers. And I can't say, of course, which clinic that is because that'll give it away where I work. But so I don't even work with my NCOs. My first time ever working with my NCO was my second NCO. And we only worked together for maybe 2 months before she PCS. And so my current NCO, she's a sergeant first class. And that's another thing. We don't really have a lot of NCOs, and I'm promotable right now. So my next first line is our sergeant first class. And how it works is if she needs anything, if something needs to get turned in, she'll send me a text, she'll call, she'll email. But I don't really, I have never been underneath an NCO. That's probably why some people think I'm just so, headstrong, or I didn't really get a chance to really start from the bottom like a lot of soldiers do, because I kind of have had a lot of autonomy from day one, kind of doing my own thing. So I lead myself at the clinic every day. I'm the NCO. I see where I am. I don't have any soldiers underneath me right now, and I don't have a NCO that's watching me every day.
So you don't have an OIC either?
We have OIC, but it's a civilian. So it's not even a soldier. So that's why I say it's really weird in behavioral health how we do things. It's different than other places. Like we mostly don't even work. Like I work mostly at every clinic I've worked at has been with civilians. Or you might work with another soldier. Like I did finally work with other soldiers that's like just like me, but it depends on which clinic you're at. And at my clinic, they only need one soldier. So, yeah, I kind of do my own thing. I don't really work with nobody.
Okay. So, the reason I asked about do you have like leadership and stuff like that, because I know sometimes in the Army, leadership can have a big effect on soldiers. And I just wanted to get basically an experience to where like leadership I want to get a leadership, I want to get experience, I want to get you to let me know an experience of both times to where a leadership where you were influenced positively by a leader, and where you might have to learn something from what they did negatively. So you got any type of experience on what you experienced negatively that you want to kind of implement that to where you don't treat your soldiers like that?
Well, let me just say I love this question. I love this question. This is a good question. So let me just say, when a lot of my mentorship, I'm going to be honest, does not come from my first lines. A lot of it does not come from the people above me that I work with. And I think that's just because it's a lot of conflict and interests. I have my own idea of how I want to be successful and what I want to do next. And also they have their own idea of what their soldiers are supposed to be doing and how they're supposed to help them. And usually, that is never in unison. So, that comes into play with a lot of the relationship dynamic with your first line. And I'll say like one negative experience that I've had was more than likely with my first NCO, which she's long gone now at another duty station. she was one of those leaders where I really didn't trust her. When I was around her, I really didn't feel like she was personable. She was very by the book, and I just really did not. She made me feel uneasy a lot. And that was my first idea of a NCO. So I felt like, I really don't know, what's her motive or what's her intention with me as a soldier. I really didn't feel like she personally knew me, or cared to get to know me. It was just kind of like, this is what we got to do it. And, you don't hear from them. And especially since I told y'all, we don't even work with our NCOs. So you really don't even hear from them unless it's about something you need to do. And so I've always disliked that about our setup, is because, it feels like all work, no play, when I feel like you are supposed to be a little bit closer with the people you have to work with every day, especially, or at least who you talk to the most. And what I would change, and I had to tell different NCOs is that you have to get to know your soldiers. You don't, all of your soldiers are different. I'm like, do you even know if I have siblings? Do you even know if my what my setup was like? Do I have kids? Do I have a family? Just different things like that you don't know about me, but yet, you're expected to lead this soldier, but yet you don't want to get to know them. And it's like, we don't got to be best friends. We don't have to cross that boundary with each other, but you are supposed to know me at least enough to where on Thanksgiving or Christmas, if I didn't have a family, that I would feel comfortable coming to your house. I know one Thanksgiving, they were like, hey, if y'all need somewhere to go, it's some type of shelter or something. There was something on Thanksgiving that soldiers can go to, and we like, why wouldn't you invite us to your house? Why would you send us to like a, I don't know, it was like a building where any soldier can go. That's like very impersonable. So that can make you be like, oh my God, that's weird. So things like that I would definitely change. I don't have my own soldiers yet, but I still provide mentorship and advice to soldiers that feel like I know the answer to questions. And I just really think that it'll really help the relationship. You try to get to know your soldiers, know their goals, know their aspirations, so you can try your best as much as possible to help them to get there. Because a soldier that feels like you have their best interest at heart will be more susceptible to doing things for you, making you look good so you can put it on your NCO, right? Because you want to look good as well. You want your soldier to go to the Soldier of the Month board and win. You want them to go and do these high speed courses and schools so they can come back and you can say, yeah, that's my soldier. But if a soldier doesn't have an aspiration on their own to do that, how could you convince them to do that or influence them to do that if they don't even look at you as a mentor, or you're not leading by example, or doing those same things? If you're not in shape as an NCO, you can just throw that out the window. You have to be in shape as an NCO, because if not, you're just kind of there. And yeah, I just think I would change that part.
And that was the negative side.
Yeah, the negative side, just not having that trusting relationship or that rapport outside of work stuff with your NCO. But the positive ways that I think I've been influenced in general since I've been here, which I beg for, like, are those NCOs that I run to and they give me honest game, because I've had people tell me, in the military, is a lot of chess involved, and you have to know that if you want to succeed, because it's going to be certain things that you might not understand that might work against you, but you're going to have to, deal with it anyway if you want to get to your end goal. So I've always respected those NCOs that take off that NCO hat, that, trying to talk military, and they like really give me the real stuff, like not trying to be, the definition word of leadership or just say the right words. Like, no, be honest, take off the uniform, tell me what's up, tell me what I need to know. And that's what I try to be to soldiers. Like, hey, let me tell you really for real what you need to consider, because it's a lot of book answers and rig way to talk, but that's not always cause for to get to every soldier. Some soldiers want to hear it like that, but some soldiers like myself, I see past that book lingo and, talking like that. So
Okay. So now that we kind of like covered the leadership part, so you said you your own NCOIC. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so what's where some of your future endeavors as far as the Army? Where you see yourself going next, or like what's your next accomplishment?
Okay. So one thing I would say that I'm happy that I did overall is that I came in after college, because I think when you come in after college, it opens up way more doors for you. So because of that, I have a lot of different options for myself. And, what they say about, when you have so many options, that's where it kind of handicaps you, and it makes it harder for you to make a decision. So I can say right now it's multiple paths that I'm considering when it comes to the Army. On one side of it, I'm trying to do commissioning programs. On one side of it, I'm thinking about, hey, focusing on school, next contract, and doing a reserve option, and then maybe coming back active duty. So overall, I see myself continuing to get my next degree, getting my deeper in my education through programs and certifications that the Army offers, so that way I can continue to add to my resume, open up more doors for me than I had when I came in just with my degree but no experience. I'm just really wanting to add to my experience by using the things that the Army offers you. They have the Financial Readiness Center, so that's helping me to make sure I'm keeping my budget and my finances in check. They have the Career Center, the Education Center. They also help you to make sure your resume is on point, that you're looking at different careers that you have available to you. So really right now, I'm just making sure that I'm doing my research so I can commit to the option, or the option that I choose.
Okay, so there you guys go. You guys has got to meet Specialist Promotable Praylow and everything that she does as far as her job and stuff like that. So kind of explain to the people how can they get in touch with you if you got other soldiers that might want to reach out to you.
Okay. So if you don't know, I also have a YouTube channel where you can find me, which is Keyonna P _. And on my channel, I discuss unique military topics that might be considered cliche, or other people might not want to talk about. I talk about them, and then I just bring you other military related content where you can get an idea about the Army or the military. And if you're trying to make a decision, I just kind of give you advice and information. And if you want to follow me on my Instagram, I also keep my inbox. I'm always looking at my inbox for people that have questions, and that's also Keyonna P _. And on YouTube, it might say my channel name is KPTV. That's also my name, but if you type in Keyonna P, then you can find me on there as well. But yeah, that's it.
Okay, because I feel like you might need to change your YouTube title, your YouTube name.
Why is
Because I
that?
look for it, I can't find it for nothing.
Okay.
You might need to change because I typed in KPTV and some other stuff.
I know. Okay. And I did change my handle name. So I think that that's what the problem was the whole time, that my handle name was something else. But I'm going to look into that and see what gets me to pop up. I think it's because I don't tag my name as much as I'm supposed to in my videos. So
Okay, so guys, so I'm gonna have her YouTube name and
yes.
Instagram in the description of this video. Make sure you guys like this video. Make sure you guys follow the podcast on Instagram at Soldiers Talk the Podcast. And this has been another episode of Soldiers Talk the Podcast. And I'll see you guys in formation.